My name is Cynthia McIntosh, and on behalf of Word Alive Ministries YouTube channel, I want to share with you today a reading from one of my favorite books, and it's titled The 52 Greatest Stories of the Bible. It was written by Kenneth Boa and John Allen Turner. I want to read to you today and share you a great message of the cross that they leave with us when it concerns the essence and meaning of the crucifixion. This is how they tell the story. He said he was praying when all hell broke loose. Suddenly a mob appeared, armed guards, hundreds of them, marching with torches out to a garden to arrest. Listen to this. He says, an unarmed, homeless man. It was ridiculous. Judas led them straight to Jesus. Jesus stood there awkwardly for a moment, looking unsure of himself, or rather, Judas stood there awkwardly for a moment, looking unsure of himself. Then he kissed Jesus, puckered up his lips, and planted one right on Jesus' face. The soldiers moved forward to take him into custody. Some of his disciples reacted, swinging wildly, and we know who that was, Peter. He swung wildly at someone's head. There was pushing and shoving and shouting. Then there was a lot of running away. But Jesus stayed calm in the midst of the chaos. He seemed to be praying as it all came down. There was a rushed trial, a rush to judgment. It had to have been obvious to everyone that the witnesses were being coached. They couldn't even keep their story straight. No one seemed to be able to pinpoint precisely what Jesus was being charged with. More pushing, more shoving, more shouting. They obviously wanted him dead, but they knew they couldn't carry out that sentence. Only the Roman governor had that power. So they took him to Pilate, demanding that justice be served. Everyone wanted something except him, except Christ. He just stood there, allowing them to say whatever it was that they were going to say. He answered when he was asked a direct question, but that was about it. No protest, no demands. It was as if he was resigned to what was about to happen. Pilate knew when he saw it. So after some preliminary questions, he shuttled this hot potato off to Herod. But all Herod was a magic show. When it became clear that Jesus wasn't going to play along, Herod grew very weary of him and sent him back to Pilate. Now, Pilate was in a pickle. The people were so insistent, so impatient for a condemnation to death, which is as bad as you've heard, wasn't enough for them. Humiliation wasn't enough for them. They didn't want him hurt. They wanted him dead. His friends left when it got bad. He had no one to advocate for him. He was pronounced guilty and seemed sentenced to die without a real trial. He was hit in the face, dragged through the streets of the town, paraded through the marketplace half naked, beaten beyond recognition, and he just stood there. He said little. He resisted even less. He prayed while hell rained down on him, tearing his flesh from his body, crushing his spirit. The people gathered for a moment. He said a few short sentences. He had a brief exchange with the two other criminals who died with him that day, and then it was over. But it wasn't over really. It was just the beginning. And let me read that last sentence again. But it wasn't over really. It was just the beginning. Beloveds, I read that story to let you know that the terrible ending of the life of Christ on the cross was a great beginning of life for all of us. Christ allowed someone he loved and chose as his follower to betray him because he wanted you. He experienced the pain of abandonment by his closely held heart, people in his heart, because he loved you. He allowed himself to be beaten in the face beyond recognition because he loved you. He listened to men tell lies about what he had done when he had done really more than anyone they had ever met in their lives. He did that because he wanted you. He allowed men to allow nails to be driven into his hands so that he could be nailed to a cross because he loved you. A man who could heal the sick, raise the dead, forgive sin, feed thousands of people, refused to save himself because he loved you. I like how Isaiah said it in his writing about Jesus Christ in Isaiah 53, verse 4 and 5. He said, surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for your transgressions. He was bruised for your iniquities. The chastisement of your peace was upon him, and by his stripes you and I are healed. Beloveds, I pray on this week that you will remember that the death, burial, and the resurrection of Christ happened because he wants you to join him in what I call a never-ending cycle of changing experiences where your life gets better and better and better. Beloveds, his end, his terrible end, is a key to your great beginning. I pray today that God continues to bless you on this great season. We recognize what Christ did because he wants you a part of his life. God bless you, and I look forward again to sharing you on this YouTube channel ministry.